Feed podcast. It's the Inside Feed podcast, brought to you by Inside Feed. James Frayne, Ben Travers, back for another week. Welcome, Frayne.
How are you, Trav? How's the week been?
It's fucking hot tonight. But apart from that, pretty bloody good. A bit of sport heating up. The cricket's getting better, which we'll touch on. We're getting into the cricket rather, which we'll touch on. I think I backed more seconds on the weekend than a fat man at a buffet. Unfortunately, I think you might have as well. So
yeah, I was alongside you at the drinks and the entree section of the buffet.
Yeah, so no luck there, but that's okay. We'll be bigger and better. We're going to jump straight into it. Thank you to everyone who listened last week and viewed last week. We got bigger and better, and we hope to replicate that again. So we hope you're entertained. Going to start with someone who entertains himself. Well, perhaps he does, but he entertains is what I meant to say. Chris Lynn returned for club cricket on the weekend. Just imagine being, Frayne, the Sunshine Coast bowlers that I presume rock up off a bus, pass on the Bruce Highway in Brisbane here, and they get out of their cars, they're warming up, and Chris Lynn's in the nets hitting some balls. I mean, that would be a scary sight. And Lynn got 154 from 55 balls, 26s, I think 5 fours. He hit a 6 every 2.75 balls. Ridiculous.
It was a Sunday game, wasn't it?
Oh.
Imagine if you indulged yourself on Saturday night and had a few too many, and you're a bit stung up, and you got to send a few rocks down to Chris Lynn and watch him just belt you to all parks.
God, tough for the Central Coast boy. But you know what? That was the story which we're running with as well. Obviously, that Lynn's sanity is back, and he's quarantined, COVID's over, he's knocked COVID for 6. But then Toombul got 8 for 266, and I'm sure all our Indian listeners, and we're huge in India, will love this. But what a game of cricket. Sunshine Coast, in reply, got 7 for 248.
Far out.
Yeah, did you know that? That wasn't in the Courier Mail.
No, that wasn't.
So they went
how about Lynn? He must be, I was just going to say, he must be the Big Bash marketing department. They must just love him, because I reckon he does this every year in grade cricket leading up to it.
I think he is the Big Bash marketing department.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
I don't think. But anyway, so Sunshine Coast, imagine being on the losing end. It was like when Australia played South Africa and they both scored 410 or something. And
408.
408
game.
And there shouldn't be a loser in that. But the poor Sunny Coast boys, that's the untold story. So I'm sure on the way home they would have stopped at the Macca's at BP at Burpengary there and commiserated with a Big Mac, because that is a phenomenal effort against 248, full 18 runs or 19 runs short. But Lynn's sanity is back, and I think obviously we've got no Bash brother in terms of Brendan McCallum joining in this year. He's obviously retired a year or two ago, and AB de Villiers is also not in the Big Bash this year. So it really is on Lynn's sanity to draw the crowds and to make the heat competitive, you'd think.
Definitely. I'm excited like every year. The heat, started line, power packed, and then hopefully they can string a few wins together. It's a great team to watch when they're on.
When they're on, they are so on. All right, just going to give a quick update. Welcome back, Lynn Sanity. That's fantastic. A quick update on Inside Feed. We just ticked over, obviously, to the new month. Everyone's looking forward to seeing the back of 2020. But we wanted to thank everyone who's reading at our website. We had over 20,000 users last month, or 20,000 readers last month, which is fantastic. We sort of only started doing editorial or blogging in sort of July, I think late June, July. So to have 20,000 people coming to the site, we were pretty pumped about. We obviously had a hiccup with Instagram earlier in the year, and Sansa, the great people at the rugby board, getting us shut down. So fuck you to them. But we're getting back on that, which is good. And we've got a couple of obviously other digital platforms or social media platforms, TikTok and Facebook, which are going really well. So I just wanted to say a quick thank you to the 20,000 plus readers globally that are consuming the Inside Feed content, yourself included, Frayne, and you're a part of it all, which is great. A little bit of self-indulgence, bit of self-promotion there. I apologise. But the next one I'm really keen to talk about. And you texted me about this today, and I thought, holy shit, what are they doing? The Broncos roster for 2021. Shall I just read through a couple of things that we've got going down, and then we can pick apart all this BS. Firstly, Joe Offahengahi's obviously gone to the Tigers. The Broncos are paying some of his salary. Jack Bird is gone. The Broncos are paying some of his salary. Matt Lodge is on big money and is clearly on the outer in Brisbane. We've got Andrew McCulloch, who I do adore. I actually think he'll be the captain, coming back from a nasty hamstring injury, I think, where he ripped it off the bone.
Yeah.
He's on big money. We've signed Dale Copley, and I think the other one is that there was talk that Will Chambers might return, the Queensland Origin star, Kangaroo star, but he is not. So how do you sum up what the Broncos are doing right now?
I think
I think you're a Penrith supporter. Be gentle.
No, I'm a big Broncos fan, but I just think that anyone who thinks it's going to be better in 2021 needs a bit of a reality check. Like that roster, I think Milford, you got to add Milford the option in his favour for 2021. I think that's over $1 million. I think he's the highest paid Bronco ever. We mentioned last week, Tony Staggs is going to spend the best part of the season on the sideline. You lost a lot of sort of starch and experience over the last few years through Fafita leaving. A couple of the other fringe forwards who had a bit of potential have gone to other clubs. It's really interesting. It's almost like they need a big marquee signing, maybe a Cameron Smith for a final season, or someone to really blow it out of the park. Because I just don't think it's going to be pretty. Like in the halves options, they've got Croft and Milford. Maybe they'll have Tessie New at fullback, who's not the most experienced, got a fair bit of learning to do. McCulloch is the hooking option, or Turpin probably. Turpin will probably wear the number 9 jersey. He'll get first crack at it. So all those things that people thought we could paper over with Seabold. Can't believe I forgot his name. He was only on the back page of the paper every day for about 8 months.
I think he'd rather you forgot his name.
I think a lot of people thought, get rid of Seabold and all the problems are solved, but far and away a huge mountain to climb in 2021 for the Broncos.
They're in a hole.
Yeah, really interesting.
They're in a hole. I actually think Andrew McCulloch will be the captain, because I don't think, who else is your captain? So I think he's going to start, because I don't think Alex Glenn's a guaranteed starter next year. So I don't know who the other captain option is. Milford's not a guarantee. Well, he probably is a guaranteed starter, but I think he just needs to focus on playing football. So I'm not sure who your other captain option is. I think Andrew McCulloch will be the captain next year. So I think he's got that hooking spot. But it's in that regard. That is it goes to show. The experience, they're just lacking that sort of leadership. If Cameron Smith came, then Andrew McCulloch's playing for Redcliffe or whatever the feeder club is, or wherever he plays for, But I doubt Cameron Smith's coming. I think if anyway, he ends up at Gold Coast.
I think it'll be really interesting to see just what happens if the Broncos are 0-4, 0-5, or 1-6, 1-7. A lot of the people who were just screaming from the rooftops to get Kevy in at any costs, he'll turn it around, and we know that Anthony Seabold wasn't given all that long, so it'll be really interesting to see if Kevy doesn't get off to a running start, how much freedom he's given, how much rope. So
for me, I think Kevy's been handed a shit sandwich. So, and if the Broncos marketing department are fair dinkum, they're probably ready with that content. Just the fact that the inexperience, the salary cap being so crammed, with the names we mentioned, we're paying people to play for other clubs. There's been some terrible deals on big money. So I think you're right. I was trying to be optimistic as a Broncos fan and think that 2021 would be a lot better. I think, it can't get any worse. We finished last. I think, people like Xavier Coates and others will get bigger and better in 2021. But you're right. It's going to be a tough year. Some of those deals were just not good deals. Not good deals. No. Moving on. That breaks my heart. Quick one on the F1 during the week. Sebastian Grosjean. I'm not a big F1 guy. Once Schumacher carked it, or almost did, I'm pretty much off the F1. I respect what Lewis Hamilton does, but F1, that was scary. The fiery crash.
Yeah, I'm not a like you, Trav. I'm not a diehard fan. Getting up at all hours to watch them go around at Bahrain and Belgium and whatnot. But I just couldn't help but be amazed by just some of that vision. Like, I think the article the week before was just on how much all of those different drivers are getting paid, and Lewis Hamilton's up there around sort of somewhere between 60, 70 million a year. Ricardo's up there, which is good coin, but then you got a real harsh reality check last week when they're driving around at 200, 300 Ks an hour, go straight into a wall, and before you know it, they're literally on fire. They're encased in a big box of metal and fuel that's on fire. So to be honest, I can't believe after seeing that vision, how you can pretty much walk away from it. It's amazing. I guess at least the safety's come a long way, and it's a lot better than when they had those few disasters in the 80s and 90s. So.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I mean, that was bizarre. But yeah, you're right. It's the same with the horse racing, isn't it? I mean, the jockeys, they earn a shitload of money. I was only looking yesterday, Kieran McAvoy, for the uneducated horse racing follower, Kieran McAvoy has won the Everest, I think 3 out of 4 years, is it? Something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 out of 5, I don't know. But he won twice on Red Zell and he won this year on Classic Legend. He gets 5% of the winnings there. I think the winnings are close to 6 or 7 million. So if you do the math over, I think it's 350, something like that per race. He's won $1 million from 3 races over, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of money, but the risks that are involved is pretty astronomical as well. So yeah, that was scary, the F1. Right, this is the good one for the week for me. If those who haven't been watching the cricket, you need to just sharpen up your Foxtel account or your KO or however you illegally stream cricket. Steve Smith has returned and he's going pretty well. He might have found a bit of form. He scored 200s in the first 2 one-day internationals. They were both off 62 balls. How good is Steve Smith?
Yeah, it was a delight to watch. I think any cricket fan would have just, whether you're an Indian or South African or Australian, doesn't matter what, the guy was just so on song. Like he just, everything came out of the middle. There was no streaky shots, no missed time shots, no half chances, no LBW shouts, just complete and utter clinic he put on.
I think there was one in the first game. He sort of chipped it to long on, and the Indian fielder just completely ballsed it up and came in when he should have gone back. I think that was maybe the only half chance he's given. Like, it's been a fair dinkum clinic. And even when the guy gets out on 105 or 10 or whatever he's got, he feels like he's got out for a duck. You can see the pain on his face. He's next level. I mean, we've always known it. We thought Labuschagne was knocking on the door. He probably still is in Test cricket, but Smithy's the proven material, far and away the best. Now, on cricket still, David Warner injured. I'm not a huge David Warner fan, so I don't really mind. I respect the fact that he's making a shit ton of runs. But this does allow a Burns, potentially Pekovsky opening partnership in the first test in Adelaide, which I don't mind.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how they play this one, because not like Burns has played 15, 20 tests, but he's by no means a senior player in the side. He was sort of fighting for his position, has been a bit out of form, and then to pair that up with a debutant, I don't know if they'll go that way, or they'll maybe try and shuffle the order around and see if they can bring someone up to maybe bat with Burns and slot Pekovsky in underneath. I don't know if they can do that. Would you open with Labuschagne? Why break a good thing? But definitely gonna rock them a bit. He's been, apart from his sort of ball tampering stint on the sidelines, he's been a mainstay there at opener, and you haven't had to think too much about who's going to be.
Are you thinking about Bancroft? Opening.
What do you mean?
Who ball tampered?
Yeah, like ball tampering. So he got suspended.
Oh, Warner. Oh, right. I think you're talking about Burns.
No. I was talking about Warner. Sorry.
Warner was the mastermind of all that. That's why I don't like the guy. I mean, Bancroft was just the little lamb that did it for him. No, I agree. Yeah, you're right. I just can't get around Dave Warner. I mean, he scores a shit ton of runs on road pitches. Good on him. But he's just not my guy. But no, I think you're right. Labuschagne needs to stay where he is. I mean, the way I mean, I'm a big Joe Burns fan, but the way he's hitting at the moment, Labuschagne will be in the second over anyway. So, I think it'll be Burns and Bukowski. I hope Burns gets 400 and proves us all wrong. Although I think he's the incumbent. He deserves the position anyways, regardless of whether Warner's there or not. The other one that's really struggling for form at the moment is Mitch Starc. He's bowled custard pies for 2 internationals in a row. There was talk that he might miss a couple of one-day internationals, but I think Pat Cummins is missing the next 4 ODIs. So I can't see a reason why Starc, like they need Starc probably, don't they?
Yeah, they probably do. But I saw some stats during the week about his career one-day performances against England, South Africa, and India only. Shocking reading. It's he's averaging 36 at 6 and over. That's him against the top tier nations, and then he just he makes his pay against the lower minnows, Zimbabwe's and West Indies and Kenya and whatnot. I think he averages 15 or 16 against all of them. So he's feast or famine. So
that's interesting. That's why you're Australia's number one cricket tragic. That's interesting. Because he's been bowling, I mean, just atrociously.
Yeah, shocking.
I'm not the smartest cricket mind, although I do like the sport. But you can tell that the commentators, I think might have been Kerry and Shane Warne potentially getting into him the other night about completely not bowling to his field. So it's just
Shane Warne loves sticking the boot into him.
Doesn't he?
Remember that a few years ago where he was
didn't pick him in his 11 or something? Or?
yeah. And then it was his body language was off, and just when Warnie's like he gets fixated on something, he was just ripping him for about 15, 20 minutes. So,
but in my mind, Warnie's always right, so I just agree with Warnie no matter what. But I mean, the one-day pitches at the moment, they've just gone. They go to Manuka Oval. I think the game's actually tomorrow, or when we publish this, probably it might be today. They go to Manuka. The pitch in SCG was dead set a Bruce Highway pitch. It was an absolute run fest. So I think you called it correctly last week. You said that the Aussies would be too good for them. We thought we'd give India a chance in the second ODI, which did happen. They did fight pretty hard. I think they still accumulated something like 320, 330 in reply. That number could be wrong. What happens in Manuka or in Canberra today, Frayne, as people are watching this?
We'll see. I'm kind of a bit worried because we've seen 2 absolute roads. We know that the bowlers can't shine the ball with the saliva because of the COVID restrictions. So Manuka historically has been even more of a road than any other ground. It's a small ground as well. So basically playing a highway with a ball that can't swing. So this could be anything. I think toss will be huge. I don't think the Indians have particularly handled chasing very well. And I think if the Australians had been chasing, they would have found it really tough if the Indians had posted a score, not even up around that 380, which Australia was posting. But even if they had 330, 340, that scoreboard pressure, I think it'll come down to the toss. Australia should be favourites, but with no Pat Cummins, and then you've got another new bowler coming in. I don't know what the odds are, but maybe India, maybe a smoky, because they haven't played too bad.
No, they haven't. And who's going to replace Warner at the top of the order there? Will that be Labuschagne, do you reckon?
Short.
Or Darcy Short?
They've brought Darcy Short in, so it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see. Like I say, India haven't played too bad, and they've conceded 380 and 360. But like we've said, it's not the easiest conditions to bowl to. But some of their batting's been pretty good, the chasing. So you never know if Kohli doesn't get caught by a screamer by Enriquez this week. Could be an interesting little showdown.
Yeah, I'll take India. I think it is a very small ground, Manuka. Like I reckon I could hit a 6 there. I'll take India in that. And if they win the toss, I'll double the bet if you can.
Yeah, I like where your head's at, Trav. I think that'll probably be the play.
Is it Rohit Sharma? Rohit Sharma who's missing for them? No, Rohit. What's his name?
Yeah, Rohit Sharma didn't come out.
He's a massive loss, and obviously MS Dhoni's retired. Like they're two massive pieces that they're missing, and they're still pretty competitive. But so India to win today as we publish this. Tri Nations Rugby, Frayne. We had a bit of chat about this on the podcast last week, and you actually said if I was very good at if we had very good production skills for this podcast, we'd replay it, which we could do. You said take the -30 All Blacks, which I think was paying $5 something. They won by 38. Argentina barely got inside their 22. An absolute clinic from the ABs. And unless Argentina or Australia win by about 100 this week, the All Blacks will win the Tri Nations.
Yeah. I thought it was a better game. Argentina started pretty strong in terms of their defense, and their defense was pretty good. But I think the whole time away from their home has really ground them down a bit. Looked a bit lacking in the second half. This is when the All Blacks got to work, just broke their hearts. Will Jordan, he's a star of the future. If you could buy, if they were publicly traded stocks, I would be buying Will Jordan stocks 100%. He's a freak. I think it was a good display by the All Blacks. They kind of needed to bounce back after a couple losses, and they did that.
And the Wallabies, obviously, they've been away for a long time. I think it's September, maybe they might have flown to New Zealand. So they've been pretty much away from their families and friends for the best part of what will be almost 2.5 months. This is obviously their last game of the weekend on this Saturday against the Pumas. And I'm sure there'll be some Cameron Munster type efforts once, because they're a very young side, the Wallabies. There'll be some Cameron Munster type efforts coming out of that once they presumably beat the Pumas Saturday night. The Pumas as well have lost their captain, who's been done for sending. I haven't actually caught up on this. I've just seen a headline that he's been sacked for sending xenophobic tweets. I don't know what they said. They were in Spanish. I couldn't decipher what they were, but I presume they were rude because he's lost his captaincy. I don't know whether he's been dropped from the team. We should probably do a bit more research before we do this podcast, but that's what's happening. The other thing I liked from the All Blacks game on the weekend was the jersey presentation they did before the haka, when Sam Cane walked up towards the Argentinians and presented them with a jersey that had Maradona 10 on the back of it, obviously for the late, great Diego Maradona. The All Blacks just do things like this, Frano, that are classy. That, I know after Hooper played his 100th game over in New Zealand last year, Michael Hooper, the Aussie captain, they had a little post-game thing in the dressing room, and they presented Hooper with a bottle of wine, and Sam Cane said a speech. They just do things really well, and they just happen to be the best team in the world.
Yeah, full of class outside the 80 minutes on the field. The All Blacks.
No discipline during. So that's what's happening. Wallabies this week. You think that's a pretty clear-cut win, or where are we at?
I think it's much the same as sort of last week with the All Blacks. I think this is a pick your own line. Maybe not -30, just because the Wallabies finishing is probably not of that of the All Blacks, but -20. Maybe 4 tries, -27.5. Get some nice fat juicy odds. I think this time away from home and constant travel from the Argentinians, and they've probably gotten worse and worse each week, just more fatigued, rotating players. I think the Wallabies look like they're set to finish the year with a bang. I think O'Connor comes back, so they'll be sharp and play around some big minus lines.
I agree. I think there's a couple of young Wallabies maybe in the back row that will be running off for a beer straight away once the final siren goes. God bless them. Now, we'll just, I hate to do it, but probably the final thing for tonight is just to recap. We gave out a couple of tips last week on the Feed podcast. You had good soys at Doomben, and at the 300, James, I thought he was home and hosed, and then I can't remember what beat it. Something rattled home and ran over the top of it. Good Soys runs second. I hope you backed it each way. I presume you only had it at the win, but
I only had it at the win. I think the Apprentice just went a bit too early on it, and Jim Byrne, the
seasoned
veteran, was just knew it had gone too early, sat off its back and peeled out and had the last crack at it. So probably the difference between that top tier and the next one down in Brisbane Racing. So
I agree. Jim Byrne is almost at the top there. And my best bet of the weekend, Baller, was absolutely smashed in the betting. I know there was a couple of scratchings, but it was sort of $5.50. I don't know what the deductions were, but it was well backed. I think it jumped sort of below $3. It was a 2-horse race between it and Boontown Lass, and then a $25 pop gets up and beats them both. Baller, again, sort of flashed home, but never really gave me...
don't think it had the best ride.
Okay.
Should have. No, it should appeal. Don't want to be too critical because I've never ridden a horse in my life.
No,
neither. Just go to the outside and let it do its thing. Don't try and go in between horses.
I agree.
Anyway,
I think if I'm not sure when they're back at Eagle Farm. I think they're at Dooman this Saturday. Not that Baller will be in this week, but I think once he gets to Eagle Farm, that horse will be. And I don't think he needs to sit as far back as he did, because when he was racing in Sydney, he actually went forward on a number of occasions and sort of sat at speed and made his own luck. So I'm not going to blame the jockey, but it was a costly exercise, and I was with about 15 or 20 people who had followed me in, so I wasn't exactly everyone's favourite at the time. Anything else for the week of sport, Frayne? We've obviously got a lot of cricket to look forward to. The racing keeps on turning over, but apart from that, again, we're in a bit of a stalemate for sport.
No. Test series just being around the corner. I think everyone's salivating for that, and then the Big Bash as well, doing the old rolling into a full day of Test cricket, and then
well, the Big Bash starts.
Over.
I think the Big Bash starts on the 13th of December or something like that, and the Adelaide Test is a day-night test, so I'm not sure what they're doing there. I presume the Big Bash won't be on for 5 nights, or right. I'm not sure what the go is there, but you're right. I think it all kicks in about 12 days or something. Obviously today being the 1st of December. So happy days. The BBL normally drags on a bit, but I'm mighty excited to have cricket on the TV every night.
Definitely. And last weekend of rugby for they'll probably have about 4 weeks off, and then Super Rugby starts middle of January or something like that.
In the hot weather. I don't know. I think it might be February. There'll be trials in sort of January. I know
end of February maybe.
Yeah, I think the Queensland Red Boys have been going through some conditioning over the past couple of days. So it'll all be back on us really quickly. I'm a tragic NBA fan. The NBA will be back. It won't be long before we get good stuff back on our screens, I'm sure. Frano, I think that's it for today. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast or our YouTube channel, please feel free to do so and do us a favour. Equally, if you are not following us on Instagram and Facebook and all those different social media avenues, it would be great to have you on board. But Frano, we will jump over and do the Inside Feed Punters podcast on Thursday, where we will tip 1,000 seconds again. And we'll be back on the Feed podcast next week.
Thanks, Trav.
Thanks, Frano. See you next week.